Joined now by the NFL Today's Kyle Long. Kyle Long, how's that sound?
Sounds great. Still a surprise. It's good to see you, Joe.
Great to see you as always. I've always observed you as a man that we don't have to guess what you're thinking, how you're feeling. It's what has made you great at this. What are the emotions as you embark on this next opportunity?
Right now, it's been trying to bottle up in a healthy way, contain in a healthy way the excitement, the anxiety, the expectations for this season. There is so much that I've done in the past. This is not something I've done before. So it's new to me, but thank God I get to work with familiar faces like yourself, and I get to see Coach Cower, Russell, who I grew up competing with in football and baseball. So it's not going to be too foreign, but you got to wait around for another month, and it's hard to sleep. It's hard to sit still.
And the AC, we're working on
the AC. The AC gets fixed this week.
Fantastic. When you're looking at this opportunity, I feel like there's no better way to learn than to do.
Yeah.
And I just want to kind of take you through a timeline here. 2011, you switched to the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
You're the 20th overall pick 24 months later. 8 months later, you're a Pro Bowler. 2 years later, you get moved from your Pro Bowl position to tackle. Same success. Is there something that you point to in your own DNA that has made you successful when approaching these opportunities?
I think it's really cool to try new things, and I think it's a mark of bravery, not necessarily intelligence, but bravery to try new things. And you can carry that with you in whatever avenue you go into. And when I first switched from baseball to football at the collegiate level, I didn't know what was in front of me, but I knew what was inside of me.
Yeah.
And if I could bring that energy and passion, obviously God granted me some gifts physically, and I just tried to marry that with the things that were in my control, and that's attitude, energy, violence at times. But once I got into the offensive line room, I was home. It didn't matter which seat they put me in.
Yeah.
I wanted to be part of it, as long as they didn't let me touch the ball. I wasn't allowed to be the center. They always told me that. But they said, you can play anywhere. You're an offensive lineman.
I think the same can be said for your life in television, where we're at currently. Wherever they have put you,
Thanks,
success
Joe.
has followed. We look forward to so much more of that. I'm interested. I think I heard you say recently, I forget the order, but how we would check on the person and then the player when you would come off the field. Was that the order person then player, or player then person?
Absolutely. And sometimes there would be, I would get no check-in from the football player, hat-wearing dad. I would just get an immense check-in from the person that is my dad, and I appreciated that. And having an understanding of when to press which buttons was really important. But he definitely knew how to press the buttons. And there was a couple symbols that I would get non-verbally from him when we were playing. I went to a school with 65 kids in my graduating class. I could point to every parent in the stands. You know what I'm saying? There's one cowbell, and it was my mother. And I knew exactly where my dad would be for the games. He always made it so it was our day. He never impeded on our thing. But if you looked up in the stands and he was giving you one of these, that was, I need you to bring it a little bit more. If he gives you one of these, he's like, you might be bringing it a little too much. Use your head, take it down a notch. And then if you ever get this, it means just keep doing what you're doing. And when I got to the NFL, obviously he was in studio on Sundays. I couldn't look to my daddy in the stands. But the rare occasion where we got to play on a Monday or a Thursday or a Sunday night, and Fox was gracious enough to allow him to go watch, he would be there. And I remember distinctly, vividly, at the Cowboys going into the end zone. We were like at the plus 4 yard line getting ready to score. And of course, it's going behind my big old fat ass. And I look, and they have those suites right behind the end zone that are dugouts, baseball style. And my dad's in there. I didn't know he was going to be there. I break the huddle. I go to the line of scrimmage, and my dad's like, I'm like, this poor bastard at defensive line is about to wear it. And my dad might wear him in a second.
I was going to ask you if he was a last row dad, if he was a back of the stand in high school.
Yes, and in baseball he was
dad.
Behind center field.
So you can always find him.
Yeah, I mean, you know where he's at.
What has his tutelage meant to you in this latest season of your career?
I think he has just reaffirmed the things that he's taught me all along. Be yourself. There's nobody like you. And you could say that to anybody. I would tell you, be yourself, because there's certain things that you do and you have superpowers that I wish I could have. And I would urge you to continue to be yourself. Same thing he tells me. Be yourself, less is more. And when you are being critical, you have to make the distinction of being critical of the play as opposed to the player. And that's something that I wore as a player a lot. People would point fingers, and it's not always fair.
it can get loud in the city of Chicago. You know that from your playing career, both positively and negatively. Thankfully, after this last season, there's some better vibes, a different air in Hallis Hall. You were there just a couple weeks ago. What were some of your main takeaways from seeing this version of the Bears?
Sharp, very sharp is what I would use for the offensive operation. One thing we noticed last year with Ben Johnson's first year in the regime was a lot of pre-snap operational miscues, a lot of alignment issues, a lot of looking around. There was none of that. There was none of that. And I think that this offensive line is going to be a group that leads from the front. Obviously, the biggest group in numbers, there's 5 of them, and size. You take a look at a guy like Darnell Wright, and he makes a guy like Jonah Jackson look small. Jonah Jackson is a mountain of a man. They have a real ass-kicking unit, and I think that right side power and the left side brains with Joe Tooney it's a lethal combination. Now you got 3 real tight ends in that offense. Ben Johnson can do what he wants to do. If you cover Rome, who covers Luther? If you cover those 2, who covers Colston? And oh yeah, and in the biggest play of the season, they throw to Cole Kmet. We can throw to anybody. Yeah. And our quarterback is the guy. Like we have said since we first got eyes on this dude, we need a superstar in Chicago to deal with the noise. We've got a guy who has noise-canceling headphones.
Yeah. They want to talk about the 4,000 yards. It's coming soon, but sets the record for passing yards. A season ago, he's putting bricks on top of bricks, and he gets a second year in this system. I'm glad you bring up the big uglies, the fellas with their hand on the ground, because it's apparent to fans what a coach like Ben Johnson means to position players and to quarterbacks. But what does a mind like that mean to an offense and an offensive line that's really the DNA of this group, run game first?
Well, we know as offensive linemen that we are often going to be the hammer that is used to whack something that's pretty hard. All we want to know is that we're not doing it for nothing. And Ben Johnson can scheme up answers to the test that make you real confident when you go swing your sword. So if you are Darnell Wright, Jonah Jackson, Garrett Bradbury, any number of these guys, you're saying, yes, coach, and I know why. And it works. And they've seen it in Chicago now, like you said, bricks on top of bricks. Let's build on that and continue to. And when you go 100 yards back, you look and you say, damn, that's a nice house you built.
Sharp looking. We like the direction. I do want to take you away from Chicago for a moment. We'll get back there, I promise. But
I'll always go back with you.
I like to say, and I heard this from a coach at a young age, if you're watching the ball, you're missing the game. And we want to put our eyes the right places. Pre-snap, in play. Who's a guy you love to spot check? Who's a guy that you would implore the viewers to watch away from the ball?
You're talking about league-wide.
Anywhere you want to go.
So I love the tight end position. And I think that the tight end position offers you a unique experience where you're involved heavily in run blocking, run scheme. You have to understand why. Sometimes the numbers change. So when I say the numbers change, as an offensive lineman, I'm going to line up across from you for 70 plays. It's not rocketry, okay? I'm going to block you unless we're going left, in which case I'm going to block the guy that's
Past you.
right behind you. As a tight end, there's a lot of voids, there's a lot of space, there's a lot of coverage you have to take a look at and say, which one of these two is the most dangerous? Am I in combination with you to him or him? I have a lot of respect for those guys. They prepare. And oh yeah, they run the ball, but they're also some of the most prolific pass catchers.
Yeah.
So a guy like Colston Loveland, I can't keep my eyes off of. Seriously, when Brock Bowers is healthy, it's the guy that really jumps off the page physically to me is the guy in Green Bay, Tucker Kraft.
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy.
Excited to see him come back in full form.
Like he catches the ball and Kid Rock just turns on.
Yeah.
It's just like
a little ball with the ball.
I love the tight end position.
They're math problems.
I hate defensive linemen, but I have a ton of respect for the guys that are one of one physically, a la Myles Garrett. Watch the guy they just traded for, Jared Verse. That's one of the most violent rushers in the National Football League. And you hear guys like Andrew Whitworth say, I'm glad I'm out of the league so I don't have to block guys like that. It's not a fun league to play in, at least looking at it from this side.
Low to the ground, bendy. There's so much talent on these football fields. And to your point about the tight ends, you want to come out heavy, we'll split them out, and then you got issues on the outside. We said we'd go back to Chicago, and there we head immediately. I don't want you to speak until you hear the ceiling for the 2026-27 Chicago Bears. Wild card, divisional round, NFC Championship, Super Bowl appearance.
Patrick Mahomes versus Caleb Williams.
Okay.
Could you imagine a world in which the archetype and the successor.
Take this pebble from my hand.
You know, that is an Avengers movie I would go watch, okay? And there's just so many characters in that Kansas City locker room that are on the back nine, as it were. I think about guys like Travis and Andy Reid. But then you get guys who are just teeing off on one with the Chicago Bears. And it's kind of like two awesome ships passing in the night. If we get to see them do battle in the harbor, cannons blasting, sails all the way up, pirate flags out, that's what I want to see.
Tooney being the connective tissue there, the common denominator, if you will. It would be something to see. Now, you did speak
and they're
at
going to have
Super
to.
Bowl.
They're going to have to beat the Rams in the NFC Championship.
They will, and what a great second act to that story after the one we got a year ago. You did speak on Super Bowl appearance. I just want to clarify here. I did have one pass. Super Bowl champs was the one pass.
We're going to have to cross that bridge when we get there.
I like that. All right, we're going to do the same thing here. Caleb Williams, stop me when you hear his ceiling. Pro Bowl quarterback, All-Pro quarterback, MVP quarterback, Super Bowl quarterback, Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're allowed to be excited.
We judge these guys based on their tools, right? Yeah. And then when the rubber meets the road, we judge them based on production, right? I would say that the production was amazing last year with a ton of room for improvement for Caleb Williams. The tools are obvious. Yeah. I mean, I could sit up here and talk about the things that he can do physically that other people can't. When we first saw Russell Wilson pirouette left to the defense's right and throw a moonball across the field to the right, we said, oh my God, football's fun. It feels like that every week with Caleb.
Yeah.
And it also feels like, lucky enough for fans, that more and more quarterbacks are going to come along that have dipped their toes into the freaky waters of Lake Minnetonka, like my guy Caleb Williams.
Thought you're going to go Lake Michigan there.
He's got that Prince to him. Like he's like game blouses. And I love watching it.
There is an entertainment value. There is a rocket launcher of an arm, and there seems to be a man that, from the day that he entered that building, regardless of what happened his rookie year, maniacal about winning.
Yeah, and some of these guys we look at historically. When I hear Kobe get interviewed, when I hear MJ when I hear stories by the millions about MJ, sometimes you're like, did Kobe say that performatively, or did he really? The more athletes that we see that come along and that are just elite in the way that they handle themselves, like I think about Tom Brady's commitment to excellence. He didn't have all the gifts in the world, but that's what a commitment to excellence looks like. Yeah. Caleb has the gifts, and he's now embarking on the TB12 method. There is no ceiling.
Yeah, I sit here and I agree with you wholeheartedly. I got another one for you. 20 of the last 23 years, we've had a worst to first in the NFL. A last place team in a division go on to win a division. I'm going to give you those candidates in the AFC and then in the NFC, and I want one from each. Your AFC last place teams a year ago: the Jets, the Browns, the Titans, and the Raiders.
So it's not happening. This is 20
that is
for
a welcome
24.
answer. You're the first person to answer that way, and I appreciate that.
I'm going to say this. If I am rooting for one of those groups to have a turnaround swing, it's going to be that group in Las Vegas.
Okay.
They play in one of the toughest, if not the toughest division in football, particularly with the way that Denver's shaping up. Harbaugh's boys in Los Angeles are a real bully. Patrick Mahomes is back and full-fledged. I watched that team, and I called their Week 18 game last year, and I came away disappointed in what obviously felt like a letdown. You draft Ashton-Jeanty. He leads the league in getting hit behind the line of scrimmage. But if you really squint and focus on the tape, they could have 4 home runs with Ashton-Jeanty a game. It's one more hat on a hat at the second level. It's one miscommunication up front when the linebacker rolls down, it becomes a 5-man front, then you don't like stupid stuff that will get covered this year because Tom refuses to let that slide.
Yeah.
And you don't spend your draft capital on a number 1 pick if you don't have, in my opinion, and we've seen people not do this, but if you don't have a plan in place to make it work.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins is the axe in the fire extinguisher you break in case of emergency. I want to see the national champion, number 1 pick, guy who had, William Wallace-like scramble into the end zone in the national championship game. You remember that? I watched that clip 100 times.
Yeah.
If I'm an offensive lineman in that building, I'm saying, put in Mendoza.
Yeah.
Because that's our best shot right now.
I'll go to battle with that guy. Wouldn't that be an agent of chaos in that division and in the AFC? Same question, NFC, your last place teams: the New York Football Giants, the Detroit Lions, the the Saints and the Cardinals.
Man, oh man, would it not be hilarious to watch the New York Football Giants under Matt Nagy's offensive
Be something.
coordination with Jackson Dart, who, maybe they can get him to slide every once in a while if Scadaboo stays healthy. The X factor is Malik Neighbors.
Yeah.
You and I have seen star players come back from an injury like that, and you go, oh my God, these guys are amazing the way they can come back. And then we've seen some guys where we say, did something not take? Malik is one of those guys that pay-per-view type play. So if the Giants can figure it out, I'm not sure who the Commanders are. Are the Eagles able to continue their dominance? Look, Jeff Stoutland, their offensive line coach, he retired. That's like a father figure in that offensive line room. They had to waive nearly $17 million in Landon Dickerson's face just to get him off his John Deere this offseason. Is it sustainable? Yeah. Lane Johnson's my age, and going to be a Hall of Famer, but this stuff doesn't last forever, and you'd be an idiot to think it's not because of the offensive line and the defensive front for the Eagles, but you can't dominate if you don't have that O-line going. I think the Giants could, it's the Cowboys and the Giants, right? If things work out the way that I think. And I think the Cowboys will win the division, but the Giants are one of those teams you do not want to get in a street fight with. They're like Kimbo Slice. Yeah, you could beat him in a wrestling match, but he might land an overhand right.
There was that one police officer. There was the one guy who got Kimbo.
Kimbo, bro.
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
That guy was dangerous.
One last one for you here, Kyle, before we let you go. There's a bit of a online trend going right now. 5 things that are worth it. And I just want this to be a peek into the brain and the life of Kyle Long. 5 things that are worth it right now to Kyle Long.
5 things that are worth it. Spending the time with your kids, as you understand. There's some days where I'm like, I want to take a walk. And there's some days where I'm like, wait, that was priceless. That book we just read that took 3 minutes, is a core memory. So that's one thing that's worth it. The other thing that's worth it is calling somebody that you know you're supposed to call when you haven't talked to them in a while. And that's something that weighs heavy on me as a former player and a guy who spent time day in, day out with the same people, forging these great relationships. And then you go your separate ways. Call somebody, because you want to talk to them as bad as they want to talk to you. That's definitely something. And don't eat right before bed.
Okay. Not eating before bed, worth it?
I'm finding that out.
Yeah, it's starting to catch up with me too.
Yes.
It's starting to catch up. I thought you were going to go like under eye patches or...
No, you know what's worth it? Getting some of that baby lotion on your thighs before training camp.
Okay. Your mind still, it's August. There's certain certain places that the mind still goes.
Yes. I don't want to chafe.
I don't want to chafe. You
Thanks,
never want
Joe.
to chafe. We're hoping for no friction this season.
Yeah, no friction.
Yeah.
That's it.
You can catch him on the NFL Today, the NFL Today Plus. He's Kyle Long. Pleased to be our team member here on CBS Sports. Thank you, pal.
Thanks.